Oh, hi. Welcome to another devlog. I guess I can show you guys the work we did this week. Just give me a minute. Okay, so this week I didn't do much. Unfortunately, my head started to hurt like really bad. So I just did some concept art and started a 3D model. I did the basic enemy design. Here it is. The idea is that the demons are trying to appear friendly to the humans, so they are using this really friendly looking mask, and they are kinda the employee of this place. So I took inspiration from those guys who took your luggages, you know. Now the 3D modeling. My recording for the first day where I did the head and torso was corrupted. So I only have the recording of me doing the arms and some detail. I wanted them to be like really off, so I gave the demon a shrimp posture, just like me, for real, and some long arms with big hands. And that's all I did for this week. Again, sorry, but the headache didn't allow me to work very well. So I just rested and did some minor stuff. But hopefully Yubico will have something more interesting to show you guys. So bye bye and see you next week.
Welcome here once again. I'm sure Luasito's part was as good as always, so let's look at mine. I didn't do much because I felt shit for a good chunk of this week, but I managed to do few things, so let's look at those. First of all is the nav mesh. Now if you watched the previous video, you saw the enemy was sort of dashing when he stopped and you walked away. That was because his velocity was based on how far is he and the player. So further the player was, the faster the enemy was. Also, other problem, he would bash into walls if you walked behind the one, which is not something we want. That's why nav mesh exists. Full name is navigation mesh, from which many of you can figure out what it does. It's this. Those colorful triangles are areas where the enemy knows how to get. So for example, if players stood behind the wall, the enemy would walk around it. That's the navigation part. If we take the speed, now it is not based on how far player is, but where he is. So the enemy's speed is constant. Next up we have ranged enemy. There was a good amount of bugs with him, such as shooting, but it wasn't that bad to figure out, and in the span of 2 days I managed to fix all of it. He's almost same as the first one, just shoots. He has a bigger range, and if player is in that range, he stops and starts shooting. When player leaves it, he stops shooting and he moves until the player is again in the range. And the last bigger thing is sort of checkpoints. Because if I ran the script and I had for example 200 enemies in the level, they would all start walking towards player. What I want is when player enters a particular area, the enemies in that area start attacking. That's what it does. Enemies have variable can see player, which is false by default, and once player enters the area, the enemies inside switch to true and start attacking. And for the end was some bug fixing, mainly with wall run and enemies. This week in the end wasn't as horrible, but it could be better. Thank you for watching my part and see you next time. Bye bye.
Yo, Fructure here. For the last week I was working with Blender again, making few more models for a grid map. Other than that, I found out how to make my life easier with bigger and less squirrel-like rooms, which will definitely be of a big use later. Thanks to that, I finally had enough assets to start prototyping the look of the environment. Here, you might take a look at the different possibilities, and the last room is what we will be aiming for. I will spend next week working on props, art style, and again on GDD, but for now, it is all from me. See ya!